Hello, friends on the internet. My name is Zach Kinsella. Welcome back to Toy Art. On our second episode today, it's my first Marvel Legends, and I'm really excited. I've loved Marvel Legends since its inception, way back in the Toy Biz days. And then before that, Toy Biz was making wrestling figures, so this was just a sweet, smooth, super articulated transition. So, without any further ado, we're going to be talking Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. She's amazing. I'm going to, of course, be posting some photos over here and on my Instagram. We'll talk about it a little bit later. This is a figure I didn't really think I'd be, really getting into. I wasn't super stoked on this line. I'm not really, the MCU, I'm more the comic collector. As you can see with all these sweet X-Men behind me, Marvel Legends is my groove. Anyways, though, we were in the store. My buddy picked one up off the shelf, and then when we opened it up later, I was like, yeah, okay, this is one of those standouts. Like the Captain Marvel from, what was it, a year or two ago? Yeah, 2019, right? Before the pandemic. With that in mind, I was like, I gotta get this one. And it was going for $50-$60 right now. Oh, but found it on GameStop, so it's probably still there. You should get it if you want to. And actually, you really should get it. It is an awesome figure. So without further ado, let's get into talking about the art, the design, the wondrous design and love for Miss Wanda Maximoff. All right, so like I said, we are talking Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff from the WandaVision. This is the first Marvel Legends one I'm going to do. Just as a heads up, I kept her hands as her translucent hands. Because I want to talk about how cool that is more than just the hands that she regularly comes with in her costume. So we're just going to talk. I'm not bringing them into the video. Just know that they are an option, so that y'all know. Cool. Right on. Let's get into her. I think, I've seen a few other Marvel Legends figures of some of the different actresses, and I have one from Black Widow, right? I have a Captain Marvel. I don't do a whole lot of the MCU. I'm more of the comic end of it, just to be transparent. That's my groove. But I do get an MCU figure when I dude, that one pops. And this one pops. What a great costume design. It's a wonderful live action piece that's very reminiscent of what the Scarlet Witch looks like in comics, but also what a nice modern take on her would be. I was watching a video pretty recently about Alex Ross's process with making superhero comic or designs. And, he kind of extrapolates that back in the, 60s when superheroes were really getting popular, before that, they had been around a little bit in World War II. But this is years before spandex was invented. And, he doesn't come out and say oh, well, Reed Richards made unstable molecules. But that's kind of what they are. And his ideal with making, portraying superheroes is that there have been many artists that have worked on many of these comics and characters. And there's a certain point where it's not every time when a person debuts, like Spider-Man or Superman, is the costume the good stuff. It's not the classic iconic. If you take a look at Superman's timeline, it's pretty bonkers. For instance, I think if you look at Alex Ross and what he portrays, for the most part, his go-to is the John Romita Spider-Man, which is one of my favorites. I also love that crazy Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. That's really a big influence on mine. I love Todd's work, just to be straight up with y'all. But where am I going with this little preamble ramble? It's that an artist, costume designer, a comic artist is a costume designer. A costume designer is a costume designer all on their own, and sometimes these two things come across. And this is one of those points in time when the costume designer just nailed the essence of a costume and that it fits them. That character, that person. And going back to Alex Ross real quick, is that he would say the superhero outfit is really just an extension of that character themselves. That's why, because I said, it's not spandex, wasn't invented as spandex. just like this isn't body armor, but it's like there's so many little details to the figure and in the costume that they really packed into the costume. You know, like I think one thing that kind of like separates the MCU out from the comic world is that there's like, you know, Jim Lee tried to bring some of this in years ago, but there's like all these little lines and like piping is what some of the guys called it. I was like, piping? What the hell are you talking about? But like, it's more so line work to like add distinction to break up the costume. And this is such a cool look because it's like, hey, there's black, but the black continues all the way up the costume right to the necklace into her face. We'll be talking about that. But first, let's do that walk around, right? So front side, of course, coming over to the side, around the back. Look at that hair, just amazing. And then back around to the front. So let's get into it. Let's talk about her. Since I had my little wonderful artsy preamble and just kind of like the distinction between like MCU, which is like, hey, this has to work for film. These costumes have to look something like something you could actually wear. Whereas comics, they're like, hey, this is more of a extension of the character themselves. This does not have to be something grounded in reality. And comics can go crazy. And here's the secret: movies can too if you just have some fun. All right. So that's my dorky observation. So coming from all the way to the bottom, we're mostly black, but we still have that same primary maroonish red streaking all the way down to the very bottom of the boot, coming all the way up. And those two lines are, what's nice, they continue up a little bit, but they're more so masked between the two triangular hip pieces that form the half skirt here thing. Someone's like, half skirt? I was like, just let me talk. I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's totally fine. But then that, like, quote unquote, those lines, those red lines switch and they become black lines and come all the way up here and they pop into her necklace. Bring her up closer so you guys will see what I'm talking about. Here, let's get her in focus. Nice. So you see like the red lines come like right up to here in the costume and then the black lines start. There's just a slight pause, but there's also black to tie it around and kind of bring your eye around the side of the hips there. It's a real, like, I feel like this is a real stroke of genius costume and something we've been waiting for such a long time for, and that they're finally not afraid to like really invest in what comics actually are, and that's like bombastic, crazy costumes and bonkers storytelling, at least the superhero stuff, right? So what I'm going to do here is just kind of pull these like power effects off. I love translucent stuff, so that's why I kept her arms like that. What you'll notice, which is kind of neat, is like, you know, in her arms up here, to the up over in here, that there's no black, but like this red repeats with this. That's offhand. This red repeats with this red, and so forth and so on all the way down. So like the costume has clear thematic intent all the way down, and also like this more incandescent, brighter red is also in the crown. I don't know what the heck, tiara, whatever. Like it's so like it looks like the classic Wanda costume without being like the classic Wanda costume, which is pretty baller to me. I'm gonna move this up just a hair so you can kind of see. Like I said, she does have. I did keep the translucent hands because that's how I wanted to display her. That's how I think she's cool. That those translucent effects sometimes they don't work too well, but like, man, these they really do. And I'm gonna bring it down a little darker so you can kind of see that like even there she goes. Action figures, who loves you? Let's give her back. So you can kind of see like over in this hand here, like her gauntlets still stay sculpted in there. You can, I'm gonna bring it down. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. Is that like her hands do not just become blank when they become translucent. They are absolutely, let's see if I can come in just a hair closer and brighten this up. There we go. Nice. You can see like those actual gloves have sculpting to them. They're repeating the same pattern from the rest of it, and it blends in like quite well, honestly, because you can see it's a little darker in there. They didn't keep the whole thing super dark. So I have her as like, who did this? So I'm gonna take her out of frame for just a second, um, and talk about the rest of her here real quick. If she feels, so this is the thing. Like she stands up pretty well. I'll be honest with you. I was not expecting that. This is her. Why are you talking about me like this, you weirdo? But I will say, like this figure, if I can come in and talk about her face sculpt, man, she looks like Elizabeth Olsen. Like just dead looks like her. I did not think this was like gonna be a thing until I saw her in person at Walmart. I was like, oh snap, she really looks like Elizabeth Olsen. Like they nailed that facial scan. And so like with her being that perfect, I was like, I gotta go in on this. And so that's what I got. Why I got her, because I was like, she looks really cool. Let's see if we can't change this angle just to Frog's hair. Nice, there we go. Let's see her a little bit better. One thing that I think is like really cool about this costume and this action figure is not only did they get like every little piece of sculpting inside, like right in her chest and right like around her necklace, but it all follows that theme of everything like coming on down. It all leads like the lines all lead down all the way down to her feet. Like it is just a very moving piece. It reminds me just a hair of the armor from Bram Stoker's Dracula from the 90s. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Especially that tiara. I was like, man, it's got that like muscle sculpting. But like, this is such a cool figure. You see like all the cross hatching in here that's like traditional with the Marvel Universe, like that kind of like, you know, textured armor kind of vibe to it, but it's something that like is wholly different on her own. Even the jeans, the pants have a really cool like armor texturing to them. And you can see that there's like slick line work, like light iron work, and then there's dark on these pants. And like the folds are just wonderful. Everything about the sculpting on this figure. I don't know if they're all brand new legs or anything like that, but I really just appreciate the fact that she is so well put together. And that's some of my thoughts up on the front. I'm going to flip her around the back and the side. Like I said, you can see that black leads around. Everything is so red on the back that it's like, okay, there's a little bit of black to break it up. Not a lot, but a little bit. But you also get like the lighter red, the more matte red, and then the black to kind of break it up right at the waist there. But you also see this line work coming down. And again, that just leads your eye back down. But I think what really stands out about it, I think you'll agree, is the hair sculpt. Like, I'm going to go get one of those little stands where you keep them like floating in the air like I have for my Storm figures. Because she just looks like she's just meant to be floating. And you know, at this point, we don't know what she's doing in the MCU, so she could be either menacing or not. I just think like the movement and sculpture of this hair is something that really geeks me out about this figure. And like it's something that's kind of interesting because like sometimes like you'll get some figures that don't have a whole lot going around in the back, and most figures don't, which you know it's fine. Like I don't display them like with their back to me, but they went all out for this hair. It just looks like it's flowing. It's, you know, Pantene ultimate hair, right? It just floats, and she just floats with it, and just absolutely impressed by this stunning figure. Honestly, I'm gonna come in a little bit closer and get some more shots for y'all, like close up here, just so you can see how much she looks like that Elizabeth Olsen. Like it reminds me, like it's not quite as curly because her hair isn't curly, but this reminds me of George Perez and how much detail he puts into hair. And Scarlet Witch is like one of his favorites, so it would be really curious to hear like and see what his thoughts would be on this figure, because it's like there is so many there's just so much detail, so many wonderful things to talk about in this figure. The line work, the simplicity, and also like the low-key texture again all around over here. turning her around. That hair, it's just wonderful, magnificent looking hair. Um, yeah, I think she's amazing, and really, that's what I want to say about her. Marvel Hasbro team just knocked it out, and I did not think this was a figure I was gonna go all in on. I'll be honest with y'all. I really just thought I was gonna skip this line because I was like, sometimes you see them in life and you're like, man, that is awesome. Sometimes you see them when they announce them, you're like, oh hell yeah, that's cool. WandaVision, I loved it from the first moments of it, and you know, they really knocked out. I hope there would be, if they keep using the face scans, like I hope there's some more Wandas out there. I'll be honest with you. I'd be in for like a WandaVision like 3-pack of some of her different looks. That's what I got to say about that. And that's what I have to say about the art of Wanda. Yeah, so like I said, she's pretty amazing. More of these photos will be sitting over here, but honestly, if you wanted to go to Toy Art Show on Instagram, that's where I'll be posting so many more photos in detail of Miss Wanda Maximoff. And really, like, the video says it all, right? I just gushed over her for 20 something minutes, so I'm gonna spare y'all even more. Really though, like, if you love this, share it with another action figure lover out there, a toy lover, whomever. Like, comment, and subscribe, of course. Get those notifications and all that good stuff. I'm gonna have some videos here coming up soon with some even more Marvel Legends, some McFarlane figures, some really exciting stuff. So stay tuned, and hey, take care out there. Okay, so if you haven't figured out what the channel's about by now, totally fine. I have a video that has like a little trailer of all the stuff I put up into these videos and explaining my philosophy and my history, talking about like action figures, comics, and being an artist. You'll also find my first video all about Major Blood, linked here as well. Check them out, share them, and thank you so much, folks. Take care.